Okay. Hi, guys. I am back with part two of the closing arguments for the West trial. Reminder, if you've not seen part one, which I just uploaded this morning, well, it was around lunchtime, my time, go and watch that first and then come back and watch this one. This part is going to be Hennessy's closing. Hennessy is Trezell's attorney. Then we're going to listen to we're going to listen to me say what Torres Darling said. And then we're going to discuss the prosecutor's final closing remarks. And as of right now, it's been handed over to the jury. Now, it sounded like the judge was not expecting them to do any deliberating tonight. And so, what we're going to do is be sitting on our hands tomorrow waiting for this thing to happen. I'm going to try to do this without any editing so that I can get it over to you guys quicker. And so, if I stutter, which I do tend to do, please be patient and kind with me. I would really appreciate it because I do think time is of essence in this piece. Also, what else? Oh, I just forgot what I was going to say. So let's just keep moving on. Okay. All right. So we got Hennessy. Said a little bit more than I expected him to. Bless his heart. I think he was up there about an hour. He kept honing in on the investigators and what a horrible job they had done. And now, look, I am not one to sit here and say that they did a great job. They didn't. They messed up this case. They really did. But I don't think they messed it up enough to where we don't have enough circumstantial evidence to find them guilty. That's just my opinion, and I'm not a juror. But he kept honing in on that. He was talking about how the first week they'd made up their mind, and after that first week, they just started, you know, following in on Trezell and Jacqueline. They monitored them. They monitored them. They followed them. They wiretapped them. Uh, and he even said that they had said that their children weren't shouldn't get attorneys. They were, I guess he was jumping on the fact that they were talking about how Jacqueline had said her children needed attorneys, and he said, "Why wouldn't they have attorneys?" That's exactly what any attorney would tell them to do, is to have an attorney if they're having their kids being questioned. And then he says, "Oh, I'm not in the business of being critical of the police department." Yes, you are. You're a defense attorney. Then he said, talked about them following tips. He said, "Look, they investigate. They know how to investigate. They know how to follow tips, but I just believe they're playing this one all wrong. They got a decision in their mind early on and they went with it and they stuck with it." And he said something like just selling it like clickbait. And he was talking, I think, about Hanson. He said Hanson was selling this whole theory like clickbait, a clickbait rendition of what he thought had happened or was going on. Then he mentioned the dogs coming in, and he said, the dogs, which he kind of tripped himself up here, I thought. He said something like, the dogs are there to search for deceased human remains and also a lot people that are alive. Or what do you say? Humans. They're there to search for humans specifically. Live humans and deceased humans. I don't see how that was a bad thing, because either way they would have been able to find the boys, right? So that was a dumb thing he said. He talks about CPS. Um, he said CPS will take your kids if you sneeze wrong. That's what we've learned in this case. And Maria, she couldn't remember anything. He's talking about Jacqueline's mom, Maria, who is Hispanic, who always had to have an interpreter. And he kind of placed her in this little vault of kind of being this poor Hispanic woman who can't speak English. She's probably scared of being deported, although he didn't say those words, but come on. He said, she's not going to say a lot. She's scared. The police are talking about her kids being taken from her, CPS taking them away, her adoptive children, which I don't believe that was ever said, but don't quote me on that. He said Hernandez didn't do anything wrong. Officer Hernandez wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just following Hanson's lead, and he had no reason to think that, anything was wrong. Then he went into this whole spiel about children and racism. and buying his nieces and nephews uh, the right toys so that they're not racist. I, it didn't make any sense, guys, because he was trying to say something about he was trying to touch on the whole point that Trezell was making about how Trezell went out of his way to take care of, black children, that most black children aren't being adopted and being taken care of. And so Trezell was trying to make a point of that he was there, he was stepping up to do that. And I don't know, he botched that. He botched that bad. So blah blah blah. He said then he compared himself to Trezell and he said, if this had been me, if I had been the one that were claiming that my adopted children were gone, I wouldn't have been arrested. I wouldn't have been questioned. They would have listened to me. And then he brings up the Arlington tip and the fact that there should have been more swabs taken. And he also brought up the point that Hansen was ready to arrest Trezell and Jacqueline right then and there on the spot the same night that they reported the incident happening. So a couple of digs there, but nothing super, super effective, I did believe. And he does bring up the birth parents again. He says that the DNA that they found in the car could be their birth parents. It could not be, might be, might not be. And then that was it. I mean, I don't even think, and trying to look at to remember his last closing remarks, and they didn't stand out. Not surprised. Okay, then we get Tora Stallings up, which I knew this was going to be a long one, and like, when is she going to stop? I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. First thing she said was reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt. And she discussed the jury instructions and she touched on a few areas of the jury instructions that she felt were important. One of them was something about witnesses. I think it was called 226. She said you should consider their testimony or reject it. And then she gave some examples about how to consider whether testimony is correct or how it should be considered inconsistent or if it should be forgotten or if it should be something that stands in their mind. She brought up Maria's inconsistency and then she brought up Hansen's forgetting something while he was on the stand. Another jab at poor Hansen. But you know what, Hansen? Get your crap together, man. You really messed this one up. All right. So then they played a recording of the cops pressing on Jackie. And then she goes on and on about how they were lying and threatening her with this poor Jackie and Trezell being mistreated because, they were telling her her kids were going to be taken away. That Trezell is everybody's going to disown her, even if she gets past this. Nobody will ever deal with her again because she'll always have this little be a monkey on her back. Trezell's going to leave her. She's going to lose his love. And, poor Jackie. And then they talked about how this case compared to some of the higher profile cases like Madeline McCann. She mentioned the little girl Amber, who they made the Amber Alert after. And I was like, what? 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 She's trying to place this case with these cases of these children that were never found. Then she went into 224, portion of the jury statements or the jury instructions, and she said, if you can draw conclusions that two pieces of circumstantial evidence are not reasonable, then you must choose that they are not valid. If you have two pieces of reasonable evidence, you must choose that the circumstantial evidence is valid. That makes sense. I think that's what she said. Again, guys, I can't sit here and record this, so bear with me. Jury instructions tell us to check our bias at the door. At the end of the day, the presumption is always innocence. She said, in fact, as I stand here today and talk to you right this moment, you're supposed to say that they're innocent because the prosecutor has not even given his closing a statement yet. And then, wait, I wanted to say at the end, but I guess that was her end. At the end, she has a fake crack in her voice as she says, talks about the boys deserve better. And she said, do more for these boys. She said it like 4 times and it was so fake. And I was just like, oh, ugh. But anyway, there was no mic drop moment with her, which I was so glad for. Then Prosecutor Smith was able to get back up and do and kind of redirect his, I don't know, they call it redirect, do his closing again, I guess. Oh, it's his rebuttal. That's what they call it. Sorry. And he asked a question: how many times does it take for a person to lie until they are dishonest? When it comes down to a funnel, you believe Trezell and Jacqueline, or do you believe their 4 sons? Pick one of the two. He said, I have showed you all the times that Trezell and Jacqueline have lied. And I just thought that was beautiful. Okay. I really like that part. So here we are, guys. This is it. I don't think that they went into any kind of deliberation tonight. I think that they're going to do it. They're going to start tomorrow with that because they didn't get out of there till about 4:30 or 5 their time, I think. So 9 a.m. their time, Pacific. I'm going to be waiting here. Pins on needles. I don't know if I'm going to pull up the audio and try to listen to it and then also have a live stream going, because I thought about having a live stream going where I'm showing some stuff from the past, pieces of the trial. I don't know, because I definitely don't want any kind of thing to mess up to where some of the audio of me listening to the trial on one side gets into the video, because that would be bad. That would be really bad. That is illegal. I think I'm just gonna have to pop on when we get news. But I honestly I do not think that they're going to get this done in one day. I think this jury needs to sit down and talk. I really do, because I think there's going to be 1 or 2 people that are going to be leaning the way we don't want them to lean. And I think the majority, I think we got this. Oh, please pray we got this. So go to bed tonight, guys. Please pray that we get justice for these baby boys. Thank you so much for sticking with me during this trial. Thank you for being here. You've not heard the last of me in this case. I will be back, but until we hear more from the courtroom, you guys have a wonderful evening. Be blessed and take care.